and welcome to Lipstick on a Rig. Today we're going to be making this beanie. For this project I'm going to be using size 4 medium weight acrylic yarn, and this is just the Big Twist Value brand and the color is olive. I'll also be using a size F or 5 crochet hook. We're going to begin this beanie with a magic circle and we're going to place 12 double crochets inside of it. And if you're unfamiliar with any of the stitches used in this pattern, please check the links in the description because I will have my stitch tutorials listed there, as well as my magic circle tutorial. And once you have your 12 double crochets in place, you're just going to want to place a slip stitch in the top of that first double crochet. And then you're going to chain 3. So from here, we're going to create a crisscross stitch. And the easiest way to do that is to place a double crochet in the stitch behind your chain 3 stitch. And just make sure that you are not placing this in your slip stitch, but in the actual stitch behind there. So you are working backwards a little bit. And there you have your first crisscross stitch. And so for our next crisscross, we're going to place an increasing crisscross. So in order to do that, what you're going to want to do is place a double crochet in your next stitch. And then working in the stitch where you placed your chain 3, you're going to place a double crochet. So there's a little bit of an overlap there. And so now we're going to repeat that for the next crisscross stitch. We're going to place a double crochet in our next stitch. And then we're going to place a double crochet in the stitch directly behind that. And this is also the place where we placed our first double crochet of this crisscross stitch. So right here. And so you're just going to follow that pattern going all the way around your row, placing increasing crisscross stitches. And when you get done, you should have a total of 12 crisscross stitches. And when you get to the end of your row, it should look something like this. And so from here, we're just going to place a slip stitch in the top of our chain 3 stitch. And then we're going to chain 3 again. And so from here, we're going to place a double crochet in the stitch behind our chain 3, just like before. And so from here, we're just going to place 2 increasing crisscross stitches, and these are just like we did in the previous row. And then we're going to place a regular crisscross stitch. So once you have your 2 increasing crisscross stitches, then what you're going to want to do is place a regular crisscross stitch. So in order to do that, you're going to want to skip your next stitch and make sure that you're not including the stitch that you've already worked in as a stitch. So you're going to skip this next stitch and dive right into your following stitch. And you're going to place a double crochet. And then you're going to place a double crochet in that skip stitch. And that's going to be the pattern for the rest of the row. You're going to place 2 increasing crisscross stitches, and then you're going to place a regular crisscross stitch. And you're just going to follow that going all the way around your row. And when you get done, you should have a total of 18 crisscross stitches. And when it comes to your last crisscross, then you're going to be working in 2 stitches that have already been worked in. So you're going to place your double crochet in this stitch right here, and this is where we placed our first crisscross stitch. And then you're going to place your other double crochet in that other stitch where we placed our last crisscross stitch. And then again, you're just going to want to place a slip stitch in the top of your chain 3 stitch here. And again, you're just going to chain 3. And just like before, you're going to place your double crochet in the stitch directly behind your chain 3. And then you're going to alternate between placing an increasing crisscross stitch and a regular crisscross stitch for the entire row. And when you get to the end of your row, you should have a total of 24 crisscross stitches. And again, we're going to place our slip stitch in the top of that chain 3, and then we're going to chain 3 again. And just like before, we're going to place our double crochet in the stitch directly behind our chain 3. And then we're going to place 3 regular crisscross stitches and then 2 increasing crisscross stitches. And we're going to follow that pattern going between 3 regulars and 2 increasing all the way around our row. And when you get done, you should have a total of 30 crisscross stitches. And that was our last row of increasing. So now all you're going to want to do is place your slip stitch in the top of that chain 3 again, and just like before, we're going to place our double crochet in the stitch directly behind our chain 3, and then we're just going to place regular crisscross stitches all the way along our row. I went ahead and placed 10 rows of placing my crisscross stitch like normal. So now what we're going to do is we are going to switch to single crochets. So go ahead and chain 1. So we're just going to start placing 1 single crochet in each stitch in our row. And you're not going to be switching between forward and backward or anything like that. These are just going to be standard single crochet stitches. So go ahead and place 1 single crochet in each stitch in your row. And when you get to the end of your row, you have 2 options. You can either just continue placing single crochets, and that'll allow you to work in a continuous loop pattern where you won't have much of a seam, or you can slip stitch into the top of your chain 1 stitch and place a chain 1 and continue placing your single crochets. It's entirely up to you. I am going to follow a continuous loop pattern because I just prefer that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I skip my slip stitch, and I'm just going to dive right into that next stitch, which is my chain 1 stitch, and I'm going to just start placing single crochets. And the continuous loop pattern is going to act as more of a spiral. So as you can tell, it's sort of seamless between our rows, so we won't be starting and stopping each individual row. We're just going to continue placing single crochets. I went ahead and placed 11 rows of placing 1 single crochet in each stitch in my row. From here, we're just going to place 1 slip stitch in the next 15 stitches. And then once you've placed your 15 slip stitches, all you're going to want to do is cut and tie off your yarn. And when it comes to hiding your tail, you can either hide it going along the edge of your brim here, or you can hide it in the stitches going up the inside of the beanie. And once you've hidden your tails, it should look something like this. And it's always fun to attach a pom-pom, so in case you're interested, I'm going to link to my DIY pom-pom maker. It only costs $4 and it makes really nice pom-poms. Please let me know in the comments below if you experienced any issues while you were making this, and I will do my best to help you out. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel, Lipstick on a Rig. Thank you so much for working with me, and I hope you have a wonderful, awesome day.